You've probably planned your entire life around one number, 80, maybe 90 if you're lucky. School, career, retirement. Everything assumes you'll be gone before the next century begins. But imagine if that number suddenly became 300. Not through magic, not through time travel, just biology. The moment humans naturally started living for 3 centuries, almost every rule civilization depends on would stop making sense. The first thing that disappears isn't death, it's urgency. Today, most people choose a career before they're 30 because time is limited. But if you knew you'd live another 270 years, why rush? Your 20s might become the new teenage years. University wouldn't last 4 years. It might last 20. People could spend decades trying different professions before settling on one. Choosing the wrong career at 25 wouldn't feel like a disaster anymore. You'd still have another 200 years to change your mind. Then education itself would change. Imagine being taught by professors who have been teaching for 180 years. Doctors performing surgeries after a century of experience. Engineers who personally witnessed technology evolve over 200 years. Experience would become humanity's greatest resource, but also its biggest obstacle. Because if people stopped retiring, young generations would struggle to move forward. Imagine applying for your dream job, only to discover the position is still occupied by someone born in the 1800s. Promotions would become incredibly rare. Entire careers could remain frozen for generations. Then wealth enters the picture. This is where things become dangerous. Money grows over time, and 300 years is a very long time. Someone investing a small amount of money at 20 could become unimaginably wealthy before their first century of life was over. Families wouldn't inherit fortunes because their parents wouldn't die. The richest people in the world would simply keep getting richer. Generation after generation would compete against people who had centuries to build power. But money wouldn't be the only thing that changes. Love would change too. Today, marriage often lasts 40 or 50 years. Now imagine promising forever, when forever could mean nearly 3 centuries. Would people still marry at 25, or would they wait until 100? Marriage contracts might expire every 50 years, not because love became weaker, but because humans changed too much over hundreds of years. Friendships would become different. Imagine still talking to your best friend after 200 years together. You wouldn't just remember their childhood. You'd remember their great-grandchildren's childhood too. History itself would become personal. Right now, the Second World War feels distant. Ancient Rome feels impossible to imagine. But if humans lived for 300 years, there would be people alive who personally remembered events we now read about in history books. Museums wouldn't only preserve memories, people would. Then there's crime. Life imprisonment suddenly becomes horrifying. Not 40 years, not 50, nearly 3 centuries. Every legal system on Earth would need to be rewritten. Even politics would feel different. Leaders would no longer think in 4-year election cycles. Some could spend an entire century shaping one nation. Others would still be alive to witness the consequences of decisions they made 200 years earlier. For the first time in history, politicians couldn't simply leave their problems for future generations. They would become the future generation. Then comes the question nobody talks about. Your brain. Could it even handle 300 years of memories? Right now, you've probably forgotten thousands of ordinary days. Now multiply that by 4. Would you still remember your first love, your first home, your parents' voices? Or would entire decades slowly disappear, making room for new ones? Maybe memory would become the most valuable thing a person owns. Then there's population. People wouldn't stop having children, but they would stop dying. Cities would grow upward instead of outward. Homes would become almost impossible to buy. Families wouldn't inherit property, because the owners would still be living in it. Every generation would inherit less space, less opportunity, and less freedom. Eventually, human civilization would face a question it has never faced before. Not, how do we live longer? But, how long should anyone be allowed to live? Because a society where nobody dies isn't necessarily a society where everyone thrives. And that's the strange thing about mortality. We spend our entire lives trying to escape it. Yet almost everything that gives life meaning, ambition, love, exists because our time is limited. Maybe humans were never built for 300 years. Perhaps the greatest gift time ever gave us wasn't more of it. It was the reminder that we never had enough.